Hello, folks! In this video, we are going to create our very first virtual machine on vSphere environment. So going back to our lab setup, the way we are putting things together for our lab, the very first thing is we identified our computer hardware, which is as a bare metal. I know some of you are using laptops, some of you are using your desktop, but that's your home environment. And then you have an operating system installed on it. That operating system is running either Windows, Linux, Mac OS, it doesn't really matter. You are keeping that operating system, you're not wiping it off. Then, on top of that, you are installing virtualization software. So, we have done that, and for this course, we are actually going through the VMware Workstation Player. Again, for those of you who have a Mac M1, they could use a UTM, or if you want to have your own choice, you could go with VirtualBox or any virtualization software for that matter. Now, with that software, we are going to have an embedded virtualization software, which we already did that. We installed our ESXi server version 7, and that's again for 60 days evaluation. Now comes the VMs. So we have accessed our vSphere environment through the web browsers and the different means of accessing it. That is perfect. Now let's do the real work. And the real work is to create the virtual machine on our vSphere environment. Okay, so for that, what do we have to do? You have two ways. One is you could do that through the CLI, which is SSH into the ESXi server and run the commands, or you could go through the vSphere environment, the GUI environment. And as I said previously, almost 95 to 95% of the people use a vSphere environment. So we want to be on that 95% of the people because it is a lot easier to use the GUI instead of running or remembering the commands. All right, without further ado, let's start up our hypervisor or make sure the hypervisor is up and running. All right, so this is our hypervisor. It is up and running. If you do not have it running, go ahead and power it on from your VMware Workstation Player. The IP address is right here, 192.168.179.128. This is in my case. It could be different in your case. Now we need to access the vSphere environment through our browser. Go pick your browser, your preferred browser. I'm going to pick Firefox. And I'm going to enter the IP address, which is 192.168.179.128. And we have the login screen. Beautiful. Go ahead and input your username, your password, and you will be logged in no time. Excellent. All right, so this is the screen and this is the portal you're very familiar with right now. Now, again, you could create a virtual machine right from this Navigator host um, page. Just click on create slash register VM. Or you could go to virtual machines right here and you could create it right from this page. It doesn't really matter. vSphere is very user friendly and it allows you to run or create multiple functions or tasks through different navigation bars. All right, so let's go to the virtual machine and click on create slash register VM. What is register? I'll tell you in a second. First thing is create a new virtual machine. That's the very first option. This is what we will be selecting. For those who don't know, these are the two options. The second one is deploy a virtual machine from an OVF or OVA file. OVF stands for Open Virtual Format, and OVA stands for Open Virtual Appliance. Now, these are the prepackaged or already running virtual machines that has been exported into these OVF or OVA format. You could import a virtual machine from another environment to this vSphere environment. Let's say if you are running Red Hat virtualization, you could actually take the virtual machine running in that environment, export it into these format, and actually import it into vSphere environment. Isn't that so easy? That's why the data center migrations have become so easy to move from virtual machines from one system to another. Imagine if you have to do it with the physical migration, you have to pick up the hardware and actually move them. Anyway, the last one is register an existing virtual machine. What does it mean? It means that you have a virtual machine running in your vSphere environment. You powered it off and you unregistered, meaning it will not show up right here in the list. It's powered off, but it is sitting on the disk. Now, you could bring it back to the vSphere inventory by registering it back and then power it back on. Anyway, let's go with the first option. Click next. The name of the machine. I am going to install a Linux operating system on this virtual machine, so I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to name it Linux. By the way, why I'm picking Linux, no particular reason. You could go with Windows as well. The reason, my personal reason is I'm picking reason is it's a lot easier to do the installation and it takes a lot less resources and the installation is a lot faster. All right, compatibility, leave ESXi 7.0. If you wanted to create this virtual machine for different versions or older version of ESXi compatible, then you could pick that. But for now, for this lab purpose or this training, just leave it as is. Guest OS family, select the guest OS. I'm sure since I'm picking a Linux, so then you know it's a Linux. Guest OS version now. Let's go deep down into the flavor or the distribution of Linux. I'm going with the open source CentOS 8. You could go with any one of them once again, but I would say let's be consistent and I go with CentOS 8. Click next. A virtual machine or template with the same name exists in this host or enter a new name. Ah, you see right there? Let me cancel it. Why is that? Because I already have a virtual machine there. I created earlier for testing purpose. So what we could do is we could go ahead and delete that virtual machine and then we could come back and recreate it. Delete. Yes, delete. All right, let's go back again, create new virtual machine. We know that. Let's start right there. Let's go fast because we already covered that. And guest is Linux, the operating system version 8. Next. Perfect. Now select the data store. Now this is the data store that will be used to give your virtual machine the disk space it needs. We created, if you remember, we created 200 gig of disk. About 130 gig of disk or 35 is been given to ESXi server. The remaining is left free. We will use that because we only have one. If you are in corporate environment, you will see a lot more data stores and you would have to know which data store is used for what purpose. Anyway, for this, you just pick one because we have only one option. Click next. All right, now is the time when you are actually think of yourself that you are on a assembly line. Let's say you're working in Dell or HP factory and you are standing on an assembly line and now your laptop and computer is coming through the assembly line and you have to put in the memory, the CPU, the disk based on the customer requirement. It is just like that. You are on assembly line. The only difference is you are doing it for a virtual machine. So you don't really have to actually touch the memory, DIMM, or actual disk to put it inside of the physical hardware. All right, CPU 1, leave it as is. Memory 2 gig or 2048 MB, which equals to 2 gig. Hard disk is 16. We'll change it to, for example, 20 just to make sure we have enough. But for Linux installation, 16 was enough, but I just changed it to 20 just to be on the safe side. Both of these options are available in MB and terabyte and gigabyte. So you could pick depending on which ones you are comfortable with in calculations. This is the controller of the storage. Different controller means different things. This one is a SCSI controller. Leave that default for now. USB, do you want the USB attached on the virtual machine? Yes, no, you could cancel it if you don't want it. Network adapter, leave as default. CD DVD drive. Right now it says host device, meaning my computer where I am running this ESXi server, it will use its CD DVD ROM to attach ISO image. Now we do not have the operating system ISO image downloaded yet. Once we have that downloaded, then we will power this virtual machine back on, attach that ISO image to right here, and then start it up and go through the installation. By the way, we will cover in the next video. Video card, leave it default setting, click next. All right, verify the settings that you picked one more time before you click finish. I think everything looks good. Now go ahead and click finish. All right, beautiful. Right here it says virtual machine Linux 1 was successfully created. At the bottom, recent task, it also shows you the same message. These tasks, every time you perform any kind of task in vSphere environment, those tasks will be listed right here and they stay there for a certain time and after that they disappear. Now, once they disappear, it doesn't mean that you cannot view them. You could go back to the task list to view them again. All right, here's your virtual machine. Once you select it, you will see right away a new option pops up, which is power on. So now, before you power on, right here, you will see this is a virtual machine. Its operating system. It's just the operating system that we have assigned and not that we have installed yet. Tools, CPU, the information, the resources, and all, the whole nine yard. Let's go ahead and power it on. Okay, so now it is powered on. You get a quick snap or a quick view, I would say, for what is happening on the virtual machine console. Now, of course, we wanted to see everything what is happening. For that, we have to start the console. So right here, you could go to console, and on the console, you have different options. The very first option is open browser console, meaning you could open the console in the browser like a Firefox. And another one, just like right here that you see will open up another browser. Now, open console new window, it will open up a Firefox, but of course, it's not going to use the same window. It will open up another window for the browser. Open console in a new tab, meaning it will open up right here in the new tab. Then a launch remote console, meaning you could have a dedicated client to launch the console. But for that, you have to download the VMRC client for your environment. But anyway, for now, what we will do is we'll just go to the very first one, which is opening up right here. And if you remember, if you have a physical machine and you start it up, and if it doesn't have an operating system, it will just start up just like that in a BIOS. So this is just like a BIOS. You would have to attach the ISO image to start the installation. That is why right now it is taking you directly to the boot normally or BIOS type of setting. You could go ahead and close that and power it off. Yes, once it's powered off, then in the next step is in the next video, we'll download the ISO image, attach it to this VM and go through the installation. Yes, I'll see you in the next lecture.